Well, thank you guys for spending your Saturday morning out here away from your families, other things you could do. It's an honor to be up here and speak to you guys and just give you a little bit of what I've experienced the ministry and the mentoring process. And like Barry said, I've known him for about 3 years. It took him a year to learn my name and figure out who I was. So the last 2 years we've kind of been connected. So yeah. But my story is a little similar to Barry's. I owned a construction company. We were successful. Things were going well. And it's interesting, the Lord works in our lives. He ordains things. Things don't happen as an accident. We're not all here as an accident. We didn't just happen to stumble here. There's a reason that each and every one of us are here today. And so as my business was starting to decline, things were happening. A lot of things that were seemingly out of control. Why is this failing? Why is this happening? Constantly see struggles and hurdles to overcome. I look back on that time, and it was to direct my time in a different direction, to free up my time. When you own a business, you're spending all your time involved in that, trying to make that successful. Met Barry and Roy through another ministry meeting, and heard Barry and Roy talk about it. Barry, real passionate about this mentoring thing, and always talking to me and things like that. I'm like, oh man, that sounds really good, but really not in that place. I've been a believer for a while. Not something that I think I really need right now, but that sounds really great. You just keep talking about it. And there's a meeting. We're at Rick Norm's house, and we're having this meeting. At the end, Barry and I are talking about it, and I'm like, well, yeah, maybe I will meet with Barry, and it sounds like something. At least find out what it is, and maybe there's some guys that need mentoring that I could recommend. And we're standing in front of Roy, and Barry's like, well, let's get together, and we're kind of back and forth. Oh yeah, we'll figure out a time, and I'll call you. And Roy's like, well, why don't you make a time right now? And we're like, well, yeah, we'll figure out a time. And Roy's like, no, right now, make a time and meet. And okay, all right, well, we'll do that. So we did. Started meeting with Barry, and from that first meeting, felt the Lord moving in that and really teaching me a lot of things. And at that time, I was closing a business down. Struggling, provide for my family, being unemployed, things like that. And a lot of things that Barry taught me in that time with meeting with him is to really just focus on what's the Lord saying to you in your life, to slow down, to understand why situations are happening, and just to kind of listen for the Lord's voice. And it took us about 1.5 years to get through the material, and just through that 1.5 years, that really helped me to grow. I was a strong believer when I met Barry, but there were things that were missing in my walk with the Lord, and being able to realize that when Christ says, "Go make disciples of all the nations, baptizing in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey all that I've commanded you," that wasn't a suggestion. I'd always looked at it as that's a suggestion. That's that's for a street preacher, or that's for a pastor or a men's leader or something like that. That's a command in our lives to do that. And by meeting with Barry, he gave me the confidence to be able to turn around and mentor other men as well. And the reason I brought up the story about Roy kind of digging in and saying, no, make the meeting now, is there's a hesitation in our lives as men to be able to step forward and make that appointment and meet with that guy, both on the end of being mentored and also mentoring other men. And we just need that kick in the pants to be able to step forward and influence other men's lives, both ours and theirs. And we look around at the world today, our country, our government, our neighbors, our families, and we see things falling apart. We see the moral decline in this country. But it all starts with the men in the families. We're the leaders, we're the spiritual leaders. And we have to pour into one another. We have to take that time and make that effort to be able to teach one another. Then the men can stand up and be the leaders that Christ has called us. Then we can start changing our families, then the workplaces, then the government. But it has to start with men. I don't see any other way for it to start. We're the leaders, we're the spiritual leaders. And by just getting that kick in the pants, meeting with Barry, staying committed to that, has helped me tremendously. And in my personal walk, the most growth that I have had, even though meeting with Barry was great, was when I started pouring to other men. That's when I really solidified, and I could feel myself really, becoming more like Christ, because that's what Christ did. And that's what I encourage all of you guys to do here. Whether you're here just trying to kick the tires, see what this is, if you want to be mentored, or with that goal of pouring into other men, I encourage you to do that, take that step. Don't hesitate. You'll be blessed by it, and other people will be blessed by it. So, thank you guys.